Almost 72 hours had passed since that strange encounter, and no maid had set foot in the room. I wondered what Alice had told them. We had seen her once, trundling a laundry cart across the parking area as we rolled up in the Whale. But we offered no sign of recognition, and she seemed to understand. But it couldn't last much longer. The room was full of used towels, hanging everywhere. The bathroom floor was about 6 inches deep, with soap bars, vomit, and grapefruit rinds, mixed with broken glass. I had to put on my boots every time I went in there to piss. The nap of the mottled gray rug was so thick with marijuana seeds that it appeared to be turning green. The general back alley ambiance of the whole suite was so rotten, so incredibly foul, that I figured I could probably get away with claiming it was some kind of slice of life exhibit that we'd brought down from Haight Street to show cops from other parts of the country how deep into filth and degeneracy the drug people will sink, if left to their own devices. But what kind of addict would need all these coconut husks and crushed honeydew rinds? Would the presence of junkies account for all the uneaten French fries? These puddles of glazed ketchup on the bureau? On the bureau. Maybe so. But why all this booze? All these crude pornographic photos, ripped out of pulp magazines like Whores of Sweden and Orgies in the Casbah, that were plastered on the broken mirror with smears of mustard that had dried to a hard yellow crust. This is what the average streamer's house looks like, by the way. Every Twitch streamer, this is what their houses look like. For real. Okay. With smears of mustard that had dried to a hard yellow crust. And all these signs of violence. These strange red and blue bulbs. And shards of broken glass embedded in the wall plaster. No, these were not the hoof prints of your normal God-fearing junkie. It was far too savage, too aggressive. There was evidence in this room of excessive consumption of almost every type of drug known to civilized man since 1544 AD. It could only be explained as a montage, sort of exaggerated medical exhibit, put together very carefully to show what might happen if 22 serious drug felons, each with a different addiction, were penned up together in the same room for 5 days and nights without relief. Indeed. But of course that would never happen in real life, gentlemen. We just put this thing together for demonstration purposes. Suddenly the phone was ringing, jerking me out of my fantasy stupor. I looked at it. Ring! Jesus, what now? Is this it? I could almost hear the shrill voice of the manager, Mr. Heem, saying that the police were on their way up to my room, and would I please not shoot through the door when they would begin kicking it down. Ring? No, they wouldn't call me first. Once they decided to take me, they would probably set an ambush in the elevator. First mace, then a gang swarm. It would come with no warning. So I picked up the phone. It was my friend Bruce Ines, calling from the Circus. He had located the man who wanted to sell the ape I'd been inquiring about. The price was $750. What kind of greenhead are we dealing with? I said. Last night it was $400. He claims he just found out it was housebroken, said Bruce. He let it sleep in the trailer last night, and the thing actually shit in the shower stall. That doesn't mean anything, I said. Apes are attracted to water. Next time it'll shit in the sink. Maybe you should come down and argue with the guy, said Bruce. He's here in the bar with me. I told him you really wanted the ape and that you could give it a fine home. I think he'll negotiate. He's really attached to the stinking thing. It's here in the bar with us, sitting up on a goddamn stool, slobbering into a beer schooner. Okay, I said. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't let the bastard get drunk. I want to meet him under natural conditions. When I got to the circus, they were loading an old man into an ambulance outside the main door. What happened? I asked the car keeper. I'm not sure, he said. Somebody said he had a stroke, but I noticed the back of his head was all cut up. He slid into the whale and handed me a stub. You want me to save your drink for you? He asked, holding up a big glass of tequila that was on the seat of the car. I can put it in the cooler if you want it. I nodded. These people were familiar with my habits. I had been in and out of the place so often, with Bruce and the other band members, that the car keepers knew me by name, although I'd never introduced myself, and nobody had ever asked me. I just assumed it was all part of the gig here, that they'd probably rifled the glove compartment and found a notebook with my name on it. The real reason, which didn't occur to me at the time, was that I was still wearing my ID badge from the district attorney's conference. It was dangling from the pocket flap of my multicolored bird shooting jacket, but I'd long since forgotten about it. No doubt they all assumed I was some kind of super weird undercover agent. Or maybe not. Maybe they were just humoring me because they figured anybody crazy enough to pose as a cop while driving around Vegas in a white Cadillac convertible with a drink in his hand almost had to be heavy and perhaps even dangerous. In a scene where nobody with any ambition is really what he appears to be, there's not much risk in acting like a king hell freak. The overseers will nod wisely at each other and mutter about these goddamn no-class put-ons. The other side of that coin is the goddamn who's that syndrome. This comes from people like doormen and floorwalkers who assume that anybody who acts crazy but still tips big must be important, which means he should be humored or at least treated gently. But none of this makes any difference with a head full of mescaline. You just blunder around, doing anything that seems to be right, and it usually is. Vegas is so full of natural freaks, people who are genuinely twisted, that drugs aren't really a problem. Except for cops and the Skag Syndicate. Psychedelics are almost irrelevant in a town where you can wander into a casino at any time of day or night and witness the crucifixion of a gorilla, or a flaming neon cross that suddenly turns into a pinwheel, spinning the beast around in a wild circle above the crowded gambling action. I found Bruce at the bar, but there was no sign of the ape. "Where is it?" I demanded. "I'm ready to write a check. I want to take the bastard back home on the plane with me. I've already reserved 2 first-class seats. Our Duke and Son." "Take him on the plane?" "Hell yes," I said. "You think they'd say anything? Call attention to my son's infirmities?" He shrugged. "Forget it," he said. "They just took him away. He attacked an old man right here at the bar. The creep started hassling the bartender about allowing barefoot rabble in the place, and just about then the ape let out a shriek. So the old guy threw a beer at him, and the ape went crazy, came out of his seat like a jack-in-the-box, and took a big bite out of the old man's head. The bartender had to call an ambulance, then the cops came and took the ape away." "God damn it," I said. "What's the bail? I want that ape." "Get a grip on yourself," he said. "You better stay clear of that jail. That's all they'd need to put the cuffs on you. Forget that ape. You don't need him." I gave it some thought, then decided he was probably right. There's no sense blowing everything for the sake of some violent ape I'd never even met. For all I knew, he'd take a bite out of my head if I tried to bail him out. It would take him a while to calm down, after the shock of being put behind bars, and I couldn't afford to wait around. "When are you taking off?" Bruce asked. "As soon as possible," I said. "No point hanging around this town any longer. I have all I need. Anything else would confuse me." He seemed surprised. "You found the American dream?" he said. "In this town?" I nodded. "We're sitting on the main nerve right now," I said. "You remember that story the manager told us about the owner of this place? How he always wanted to run away and join the circus when he was a kid?" Bruce ordered 2 more beers. He looked over the casino for a moment and shrugged. "Yeah, I see what you mean," he said. "Now the bastard has his own circus. And a license to steal, too." He nodded. "You're right. He's the model." "Absolutely," I said. "It's pure Horatio Alger, all the way down to his attitude." I tried to have a talk with him, but some heavy-sounding dyke who claimed to be his executive secretary told me to fuck off. She said he hates the press worse than anything else in America. "Him and Spiro Agnew," Bruce muttered. "Spiro? Yeah. Him and Spiro Agnew," Bruce muttered. "They're both right," I said. "I tried to tell the woman that I agreed with everything he stood for, but she said if I knew what was good for me, I'd get the hell out of town and not even think about bothering the boss." "He really hates reporters," she said. "I don't mean this to sound like a warning, but if I were you, I'd take it that way." "Oh, I don't mean this to sound like a warning, but if I were you, I'd take it that way." Bruce nodded. The boss was paying him $1,000 a week to work 2 sets a night in the Leopard Lounge. and another $2,000 for the group. All they had to do was make a hell of a lot of noise for 2 hours every night. The boss didn't give a flying fuck what kind of songs they sang, just as long as the beat was heavy and the amps were turned up loud enough to lure people into the bar. Oh, the vice president. Oh, he was Nixon's vice president. I know that because I watched Futurama. No, Agnew. He's the guy who was like, Who is this Bruce? It was strange to sit there in Vegas and hear Bruce singing powerful stuff like Chicago and country song. If the management had been bothered to hear the lyrics, the whole band would have been tarred and feathered. Several months later in Aspen, Bruce sang the same songs in a club jammed with tourists and a former astronaut. Name deleted at insistence of publisher's lawyer. And when the last set was over, came over to our table and began yelling all kinds of drunken, super patriot gibberish, hitting on Bruce about what kind of nerve does a goddamn Canadian have to come down here and insult this country? Say, man, I said, I'm an American. I live here, and I agree with every fucking word he says. At this point, the hash bouncers appeared, grinning inscrutably, and saying, "Good evening to you, gentlemen. The I Ching says it's time to be quiet, right? And nobody hassles the musicians in this place. Is that clear?" The astronaut left, muttering darkly about using his influence to get something done damn quick, about the immigration statutes. "What's your name?" he asked me as the hash bouncers eased him away. "Bob Zimmerman," I said. "And if there's one thing I hate in this world, it's a goddamn bonehead Polak." "You think I'm a Polak?" he screamed. "You're a dirty gold dirty gold bricker. You're all shit. You don't represent this country." "Christ, let's hope to hell you don't," Bruce muttered. Name deleted at insistence of publisher's lawyer was still raving as they muscled him out to the street. The next night, in another restaurant, the astronaut was scarfing up his chow, stone sober, when a 14-year-old boy approached the table to ask for his autograph. Name deleted at insistence of publisher's lawyer acted coy for a moment, feigning embarrassment. Then he scrawled his signature on the small piece of paper the boy handed him. The boy looked at it for a moment, then tore it into small pieces and dropped it in Name Redacted's lap. "Not everybody loves you, man," he said. Then he went back and sat down at his own table about 6 feet away. The astronaut's party was speechless. 8 or 10 people, wives, managers, and favored senior engineers, showing blank a good time in fabulous Aspen. Now they looked like somebody had just sprayed their table with shit mist. Nobody said a word. They ate quickly and left without tipping. So much for Aspen and astronauts. Would never have that kind of trouble in Las Vegas. A little bit of this town goes a very far way. Goes a very long way. After 5 days in Vegas, you can feel like you've been here for 5 years. Some people say they like it. But then some people like Nixon, too. He would have made a perfect mayor for this town. With John Mitchell as sheriff and Agnew as master of sewers. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Great chapter, truly.